So you saw that, and I love it, Dan, because it did happen organically, and you had to be great to make it a thing. He's been great.
You know what's been amazing to me? The evolution of Edwin Diaz, because a couple of years ago, he was public enemy #1 here. He couldn't keep the ball in the ballpark in the 8th and 9th inning. And the last thing you would ever think 2 years ago that this guy would be coming out to Narcos and this crowd would be going wild. Brian, he right now is the best reliever in the game of baseball. His strikeout rate is alarming. It's amazing how good he is now and how unreliable and confidence was down 2 years ago. He comes in the game now. For the most part, if he's throwing strike one, you have no chance. He's 98 to 101 with life and an absolutely electric slider. If he has both of his pitches, he's unhittable. If he has one of them, he still has a really good chance to get you out, Carlos.
I just want to say the strikeout rate is at 50%. A lot of times people don't know the strikeout rate, but that he's striking out half the batters that he's faced. And you're right, 2019 was a disaster. He was still striking guys out, but giving up bombs. So this year, I'm stunned he has 3 blown saves, but he hasn't had one since late May. So how does that happen, Carlos, that you can be that terrible and now be the very best guy in the game?
You know what? He's been having better sequencing this season. Like visually, I can tell immediately. That racing fastball, we just saw a couple of 4-seamers at the top of the zone. Those are unhittable because they do seem to rise. I'm not sure if scientifically we can prove that, but as a hitter, the ball simply does not come down. It keeps on going up like a racing fastball from a softball pitcher. Yet he's throwing it 100 miles per hour. And then when he throws the off-speed pitch, then off of exactly the same trajectory, literally you have 0 chance. Honestly, the only way you can hit a guy like Edwin Diaz the way he's pitching now is to sit either fast or soft. If you're in between, you're done.
When he's pitching, he looks like an all-time great. However, there's another all-time great on the other side of the field, and that's Craig Kimbrell, who has been up and down, and we've seen it. And it's not even up, it's either unhittable or you can't keep him in the game. And we've seen that with Kimbrell. We've seen that Aroldis Chapman. Remember a few years ago, Wade Davis? I'm talking about the greatest run preventers in the history of the game. So, Dan, you were a relief pitcher for 18 years in the major leagues. Is it a confidence game? Is it you have to have a certain amount of velocity? What is it?
It's A, B, and C. It's the it factor mainly, Brian. And you're like, what is that it factor, right? Gary Player once said, a golfer, he said, hey, Tiger Woods has it. And I have it. I don't know what it is, but I know that I have it. And what that is the ability, when things are going bad, to take the ball like you are the big bully, and all of a sudden you're not going to let anybody play anymore. When your stuff is so good that you can rear back and say, okay, I'm going to take it to another level. There's another gear. Right now, that gear for Craig Kimbrell, he has to try so hard to get to that gear. For him to throw 97, 98 was effortless 4 or 5 years ago. Now to throw 97, 98, he has to go at like 110%. So what's the first thing you do when you try to throw harder than your body wants you to do? What's the first thing that happens when you swing harder than your body really wants you to swing? You become inaccurate. You don't hit the barrel of the ball. You don't hit the ball to the catcher's glove. It's like when you go out and play golf. If you're trying to hit a drive as far as you can, there's a pretty good chance you won't. You'll slice it, you'll cut it. And so the margin for error for Kimbrell is a lot smaller now. And what he has to do is he has to throw more strikes so he can use that breaking ball to his advantage. But gone are the days. Now, he'll have an occasional day, Carlos, where that fastball has some rise and some hop on it. But consistently, he can't go out there anymore and say, okay, if I don't have either one of my pitches, I'll still get away with it. He can't do that anymore because that extra gear consistently isn't there.
But it's there now for Diaz. Remember who the #1 relief pitcher in the game was in our offseason, top 10 right now? Josh Hader. He's getting lit up right now. And now Diaz is in a contract year. People are talking about will be the highest paid reliever of all time. Do you chase that run prevention?
Yes.
Or you do?
You do.
Have you learned nothing, Dan? You're down.
Brian, he has found it in the toughest market that you could find it in.
Yeah.
If you're going to worry about if this guy is battle-tested, this guy on opening day, if he would have blown any of his first couple of saves, there would have been 40,000 boos, and he would have never heard the end of it. He beat it, and he beat it in one of the toughest markets. I'm buying. I don't think there's any way the Mets let him leave.
All right. We're getting blown away here. It's amazing, that Robbie Cano trade that he came up. Boy, they look like one of the worst trades in the history of baseball. Feels pretty good right now. Not for Cano.
Indeed.
For Edwin Diaz.